So Paul, in your mind, why should a company consider joining the consortium?
The grocers, all the grocers today are asking for, or have been asking for the last 10 years, for traceability. The industry has changed that traceability term to transparency. So what the working party does is it enables us to get around the table and say, now we've got the technology platform in blockchain, how do we use that? How do we build applications over that to fulfill that traceability need and that whole transparency into entire supply chains to ensure compliance, ensure that the ethics are correct all down the supply chain. So bringing a working party together to help us design the right applications over blockchain is essential to the success of that.
So do you see not just the retailers being part of the consortium and part of the working party, but actually every step in the supply chain?
Every layer, every single layer. What for an entire industry, for an entire market to use a technology to be able to provide information through to the consumer, you've got to add value to every single layer in that process. We've got to understand why the farmer will get involved in a blockchain initiative. And they're not going to get in it because it's a technology and they're being told to by the Sainsbury's or the Tesco's of the world. They're going to get involved because it's going to help them sell their product, grow their product. It's going to help them get connections inside the supply chain and up into the retailers more directly.
That's good. And so do you see blockchain getting more closely integrated with some of the existing applications?
Yeah, so you take our application today, the Oracle Brand Compliance Solution. That tool manages everything from the development process of private label products through to the product specification, the technical information that is held behind the product, or the entire formulation and all the dietary analysis and all the packaging analysis that goes behind that. And then behind that, you've then got the primary supplier management and compliance. Is this being manufactured by a supplier who has the right controls in place to manufacture this product? The next logical step is to go down the supply chain even further and look at who's the supplier into that primary supplier and who's the supplier of that, etc., etc. So getting true compliance across the entire supply chain is the natural extension to the brand compliance solution set.
So how would you differentiate the focus that you have to that solution in the industry from the traditional product lifecycle management side of things?
So product lifecycle management is generally about how do I bring product to market, how do I commercialize that product, how do I get that product sold into the space. Our product sets are focusing far more on how do you ensure that they are the correct products, that they are safe products, that the supply chain is the right supply chain and is a sustainable supply chain. If you look at all the various different markets, look at fashion for example, although products and assortments may change on an annual basis, the supply chains behind it don't. And therefore the supply chains are where our solution will focus on more on the compliance life cycle of that supplier to ensure that they're ethical, that there isn't slavery, there isn't underage children being used in the supply chain, and that the factories are safe and the welfare of the workers is controlled and managed appropriately. So our solutions are very much focused on ensuring the supplier is right, the supply chain is right, the product is technically correct and right, and then that ensures that the retailer is in control of understanding that entire supply chain. And what blockchain does for us is just extend that even further into that market.
And do you see the role of solutions in that field going broader than the traditional own-label food products into other categories?
Yeah, all of them. I think if I look at my client base, which is everybody from Walmart to Tesco, Sainsbury's, the various different organisations, Target, Whole Foods, all of these have the full spectrum of private label products, everything from food, non-food or near food, shall we say, things like shampoos and cosmetics, which are formulated style products, chemicals and the chemical hazards that come behind that. It's all part of that same requirement. Then you've got their general merchandising sections with Sainsbury's and Argos as a good example of that. And then you've got fashion. Yeah, and in fashion, again, it's coming down to, what kind of garments, where is the entire garment coming from? Where's the button coming from? Is the material being used, had all the various different ethical checks against it and the compliance checks against it in the supply chain?
And do you envisage blockchain replacing things in the existing solutions, or more being a complementary?
Oh, it's absolutely complementary and an enabler within the market. What blockchain is a channel. It's an ability to say, let's take data from the supply chain and channel it through the supply chain, and then allow various different companies along that route to be able to leverage the information and use that information to either authenticate the information that's coming along, or to be able to trace and track, and or be able to identify where there's risks in the supply chain so we can mitigate those. Brand compliance and tool sets like that is one of those tools that's going to leverage that style of information, and then take that information and use the analytics within brand compliance and the rest of our Oracle retail portfolio to be able to provide the retailer with the right insight utilizing that data from blockchain.